What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome in to CHGO Bulls Postgame, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download the app and use promo code CHGO when you sign up. I'm Peck. You can follow me on Twitter at Bulls_Peck. Big Dave, he is at BAWL Sports. Joining us in the magic bubble, it's our guy, Mark Caranzolis, hanging out with us for postgame. Follow Mark on Twitter at MKHoops, our producer, and our pal Joey rocking with us here in Studio B. Bulls fall to the 76ers. 114-109 is the final. The Bulls fall to 3-4 on the season. Another game in which the Bulls get down big early, claw their way back.
Yeah.
Game is there for the taking.
Yeah.
Embiid hits a monster three.
Yeah.
Bulls cannot respond at the other end on the ensuing possession, getting two shots at it. You get DeMar driving, a lot of contact, no whistle, ball rims out, ball's going the other way. Alex Caruso, superhero, to the rescue, pickpocket, steps up, settles, takes a three. Three doesn't go. Sixers ball, game over. Wow. Roller coaster. Sorry, Pat. I know that's a trigger word for you, but roller coaster. Gentlemen, I mean, where to begin? It was a similar script for the first all of the quarters.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the result was the same as well, Dave.
Same result, same sadness. I'm going to crack one open here.
Another one.
Yeah.
Jeez. Last night too, Dave.
The liquid death, Mark, just, I don't care. I'm going in. I'm going to be drunk off of what?
I see this cry for help, and I'm going to just let you do you.
High quality H2O right there, ladies and gentlemen. Liquid death. That's delicious water. Yeah, that was some bullshit. It was the same thing. We talked about it in pregame. These teams come in against the Bulls, each one of them, and that's not an exaggeration, except for Indiana, who got off to their hot start in the third. But each one of them is getting off to a hot start, especially from the three-point line. Just lights out when they start the first quarter against the Chicago Bulls. And then the Bulls have to play the majority of the first half playing catch-up to these teams to get it down to single digits. And then they get to the third quarter, and they look good, and they take the lead, and they build it a little bit, to get about 5 or 7. And then something happens, like always towards the end of the third quarter. Some big play happens to kind of swing the momentum. And then in the fourth quarter, the Stars take over, as it always has been in the NBA since it's been around for 76 years. Yeah, it was disappointing, especially because, Embiid has never lost to the Bulls. So now him being 12-0 and him having not a particularly great game, was in foul trouble a lot.
A pedestrian 25-7 from Joel.
Yeah, not the monster numbers he had been putting up against the Bulls, but he hits the key three-pointer, which you guys heard me screaming, do not leave the shooters. Do not give up a three. Do not give up a three. Do not give up a three. They give up a three, and it ended up costing them in the end. Yeah, it was some bullshit. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, look, I'm not too mad about. I can see people in the comments talking about the refs and these sorts of things. We can focus on the positions late in the game and those sorts of things, but to me, it's like the issue is getting down 19 in the first place. Like that shouldn't happen. And okay, maybe it happens in one game, but this has been a trend all season thus far. Obviously, it's a very short season, but virtually every single game there's been some sort of theme like this where the Bulls defense just hasn't been engaged. They've given up not only a lot of three-point attempts, but pretty easy three-point attempts, and those teams are just making those shots. So it's frustrating from that perspective because it's the same thing every time, and it's always with the starters for whatever reason. It's happening early in games, and then the team has to claw back and try to work themselves back into it. So it's just a recipe for disaster in that perspective. And I know Will was banging on about this yesterday after the Spurs game, but if you're going to be a team that doesn't shoot a lot of threes, don't make a lot of threes, you can't afford to get down like this. So yeah, it was cool that they came back and had a potential to win this game, and maybe they should have won this game. But I mean, they shouldn't have been down 19, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I mean, and we saw the Bulls defense get in trouble out of the gate.
Yeah.
Same story that we've seen several times already through the first 7 games of the season. Obviously the Harden Embiid pick and roll is very challenging for anybody to try to slow down. But the ways in which the Bulls rotations were just a half a step late or a closeout late dug them that hole. You got to give them credit for the way that they bounced back. And just, to go back to your point about the Embiid dagger 3 in particular, Dave, and how you've been harping on, you can't leave these shooters open. Yes, we know that Embiid is capable of hitting the threes. He wasn't the one stroking a lot of threes tonight. Tucker was hitting threes. Harris was hitting threes. Niang was hitting threes off the bench. He got hot in the third quarter. Melton hit a couple. And it was a pick and roll action involving Caruso and Vooch there at the top of the key on that possession. And Vooch gets caught a little bit. Caruso's clearly now on the man, on ball. So Vooch kind of had to close out. The only other help you may have been getting would have been DeMar from the weak side. And
that was PJ Tucker.
And PJ Tucker was in that corner. And Tucker was 2 of 2 from downtown tonight. So did you really want DeMar to leave PJ Tucker open? Because then you're just talking about Embiid seeing a quick little swing pass to a wide open Tucker in the corner. Sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Nobody got to close out Embiid fast enough, but if you commit to that, you're leaving Tucker open.
That would be fine if that wasn't a theme. It's been a theme of the Bulls, not closing out on those shooters, not having the right personnel in to close out on those shooters, I guess. From the first quarter on, in every single game that we've watched, they haven't been able to stop that from anybody. And so, it just becomes more glaring when it's something like that, when it's the last second thing and it's the best player on the team taking that shot. And again, you know how he's a Bulls killer. I get it. PJ Tucker, I get that for sure. The dude we did the breakdown about in the pregame was Joel Embiid because he was the killer. And then I told you in the last 3 games against the Bulls, he's shooting 58% from 3. And he shot 50% tonight because he was 1 for 2. You know what I mean? Only took 2 of them, only hit 1. But he has been the absolute monster for that team against the Chicago Bulls. You're right, Matt. It's hard. It's a hard thing to look at and a hard thing to critique because of how great PJ Tucker is from the corner. But like I said, it's just been a theme for the Bulls so far, and that's what makes it frustrating is they haven't been able to figure out how to solve that yet.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And look, I want to be fair to the Bulls at the same time. Guarding the Embiid pick and roll is just problematic more generally. I don't even know if the best defense in the NBA has a solution to that, let alone a Bulls team who, per Rob Schaefer, he had this tweet during the game, the Bulls are 29th in defensive rating in first quarters. So I think for most teams are going to run into those issues with Embiid and Harden as the pick and roll sort of and guarding that and the permutations that come with that. But I don't know, if for me it was less about the defense tonight because sure, there were defensive problems, but at the same time, I think the Bulls did enough defensively to win this game. It was, like I said before, there's just a lot of things early on that were problematic. So I don't know what the answer to that is either. What is the answer to that? Is that a lineup change thing? Is it a coaching issue in terms of not getting these guys engaged? Maybe he is, but for whatever reason, these guys are just I don't know. Maybe they're slipping themselves. It's hard for us as fans to understand what the answer to that question is, but seemingly the problem at the moment is the starting unit more generally, but the fact that the starting unit at the start of games is problematic. So I don't know what the solution to that is because there was no Wire tonight. Caruso came in. I wanted Caruso to be the starter this season because I thought he would be that linchpin defensively to sort of get guys engaged on the court. But even with Caruso in a point guard tonight, they just didn't have it from that perspective. So I don't know what the answer is, guys, and that's probably the most concerning thing, to be honest with you.
We've got some super chats going on in the comments. Soulbro and McBaconator, I see you guys. I'll get to your super chats a little bit later on.
Too awesome.
But a lot of people in the comments are talking about Zach right now, and I want to address it because Zach was also very much involved in how that fourth quarter didn't go the Bulls' way. So Evan had a super chat saying, Zach, missing open looks that max players must hit. Armando saying Zach looked like Denzel, not a max contract player.
Slow
okay,
down,
Armando,
bro.
That's a step too far.
Slow down.
Stop trying to trigger people. That's ridiculous. Denzel like got waived by the Boston, Maine Celtics. Like, okay. But there are more other people in the comments talking about Zach. Not that mad, saying Zach missing 2 easy jumpers before the 3 was disappointing. Mac, for a better tomorrow. Zach, so talented, but definitely wish he had a higher basketball IQ. Brian, Zach has a basketball IQ issue. He's a slasher and a shooter. Can't really create his own shot. We see you in the comments upset with Zach. And look, after the second of the 2, Dave, I turned to you and said, Zach just took 2 weird, not in rhythm, elbow mid-range jumpers from the left side of the floor.
Yeah.
Not at all his spot.
At all.
Not at all his shot.
Nope.
And on both of them, it looked like he wasn't sure if he wanted to go glass or swish them.
Yeah.
And he bricked them off the inside of the rim.
Absolutely
both
right.
times.
Absolutely right.
So, yes, when you're talking about Zach's late game decision-making, this is not a new conversation. We've been having this conversation for 4 or 5 years now. It reared its ugly head tonight in a way that was really tough to watch, especially considering on the second of those 2 bad mid-rangers he took, at least in my opinion, I'm calling them bad, he had Vooch wide open in the corner, and Vooch was knocking down his big boy shots tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, that was hard to watch.
Yeah. 2 of 9 from the 3-point line was Zach LaVine. But you're right. When you saw him take those shots from that elbow, your first thought is, wait, I've never really seen him take that shot. Like, I'm not used to him seeing that. That just looked weird. It was a little indecisive at times while he was out there. You're right. One extra pass to Vooch in that corner, who knows, could have made that difference for sure. But yeah, and I think it also had to play into he wasn't getting those calls either. Tonight when he was going to the bucket, they were not giving him those calls that we saw him getting in the second half of the season. He wasn't getting them tonight. DeMar was, but Zach, well, actually DeMar wasn't because he got fouled at the end and they didn't give him that call either. But Zach definitely wasn't getting those calls, and he was trying to be vocal about it. But yeah, it didn't look comfortable. It didn't look like the right shot for him. Now, ball handling, Zach's never been that. Like I'm resigned to that. Basketball IQ, we've talked about that before also. His IQ on the show and things like that. But his shot was just completely off tonight in the way he was taking it, in the way he was approaching the game. It just looked a little bit different for him, man. And it just could have been a bad game for him. So you know what I mean? I'm not saying like this is a normal thing for him, and that's why I'm tripping on these comments, because this is not a normal thing you'll say for Zach LaVine doing this kind of stuff like this, guys. But yeah, it didn't look comfortable, especially those 2 shots he took, Mark.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, he was efficient inside, or at least from the 2-point game more generally. I think his overall efficiency tonight is better if he gets more calls at the rim. I thought there was a couple calls tonight where he should have got some calls at the rim, but didn't for whatever reason. So yeah, clearly his 3-point shot wasn't on tonight. He's not going to be on every night from the 3-point shot. Did he make some bad decisions at the end? Yes. Okay. But the issue here is, I guess, the status of Zach LaVine now. And this was always going to be happen. Like on nights that Zach doesn't have it, particularly now with this whole injury thing, not playing back-to-backs, or at least for now, at least, on the back of coming off an offseason where he's been given a 5-year, $215 million contract. I don't necessarily subscribe to this thinking, but you're going to hear this after every bad Zach game. You're going to hear the same stuff. Like, we paid this dude $200 million. Why is this guy not playing every single game? Like, this is just the nonsense we're going to hear every single time. He just doesn't bring it. He had a bad game. Well, not even a bad game. He wasn't good. But, irrespective of that, if he's not playing at an all-star level, if he has one game off, irrespective of that, people are going to go nuts about him. Because that was the tendency, regardless, before the contract, before the injury, that people had this, this want to trash Zach on some fundamental level like that. That's just going to be amplified this season every time he has a bad game. So, and this is not me justifying him, his bad decision making or all those sorts of things. But am I surprised people are going nuts at him? Not at all. It's very predictable.
He was shooting right. He was shooting 58% from 3 coming into this one. Like, that wasn't going to last. I don't know if y'all thought that was going to be a thing, but that wasn't going to last at all. But him going 2 of 9 is not going to last either. Like, you know what I mean? He's just not bad on those kind of things. The dude is a good basketball player. That's why he got the contract he did. But yeah, you're right, Mark. That's going to come up more often than not when he's having those bad games. You're going to hear about his contract all season long. Every single bad game he has, that contract is going to come up all season.
Right, because it's the new hot thing for angry Bulls fans to talk about.
Yeah.
Last season, it was, we gave up all of this for Vooch, and this is all he's given us?
Yeah.
You know, Zach and that contract is going to be that new thing. He's going to be the new Vooch this year because of that contract. Shout out to our guy Laro in the comments who said, we can't forget, Zach didn't have any 5-on-5 reps this summer. It's going to take some time. And look, it was not an atrocious game from Zach. 8 of 19 is not terrible.
No.
He did probably not get the benefit of the doubt on a couple of plays,
He did not.
officiating wise. He only took 2 free throws. Probably should have been 6 or 8.
Yeah.
Like you said, Dave, 2 of 9, uncharacteristic night from Zach behind the arc.
Yeah.
The thing that I did have an issue with were those 2 mid-rangers he took late in the game, because that's not his game.
Correct.
He plays around the perimeter and he plays at the rim.
Yeah.
That is who Zach LaVine is. And those were tough shots to watch him take and miss in key moments of the game.
Yeah, sure were, man. And again, like, there are many reasons why they lost this one. I'm not going to hamper on Zach about it. He did what he could out there. Like, when guys aren't getting those calls, it changes the way you play. It changes the way you take certain shots and do certain things. And I think you saw that from Zach. But, like Mark said, like you said, like, he wasn't like he had a terrible night. It was just an off night. You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference, you know what I mean, between bad and off. And it just felt off. So you knew it was when he started taking those shots that you're pointing out. When you start doing things nobody ever really seen you do. Even in that 2-for-1 that he took, in that second half, where he took that way long 3-pointer.
Oof.
I know why he took it. I got it, but it still was like 30 seconds left. And I'm like, you could have stepped in and got a better shot than that. But I got why he did it. And again, it's hard to come at the man who was shooting 58% from 3. I'm like, all right. Well, I guess you're allowed one of those Steph Curry range shots when you're that hot to see if it can continue. But yeah, man, it was a tough night for him, just an off night for Zach. But I expect him to pick that back up, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. And look, in isolation, losing to the Sixers by a couple points in a game where you were down big, you got back into this game, you probably could have won it and maybe should have won it. Like, in isolation, this is actually a pretty good game from the Bulls. But what makes this hurt maybe more than it should, and it's not LaVine's play at the end, it's not that maybe even getting down 19 early in the game, it's actually losing to the Spurs last night. Like, okay, losing a game to the Sixers, there's no shame in that. The Bulls have been owned by Joel Embiid for years now, and this was probably one of the rare ones where they were actually competitive against him. But like, the issue here is you go winless over the weekend, and you've got a really tough November schedule coming up. So I could live with this loss, and obviously I will live with this loss tonight. But it just becomes more problematic because you had a really bad game against an inferior team like the Spurs yesterday, one that you should have won, one where they played much worse yesterday. We should be more angry about the Spurs loss than we are today, assuming people are more angry about this one. So in isolation, I'm not actually too concerned with this game because I thought the Bulls actually had a pretty good showing. And similarly to last year, like, had this been the team of last season, get down 19 early to the Sixers, there's no way they're coming back in this freaking game. But they got a way to get back into the game. So that is the positive. But, if we want to talk about negatives, the fact that the Bulls are now 3-4, where they probably should be 4-3 had they taken care of business yesterday against the Spurs.
Yeah. And I think that's why people are upset more today, Mark, is because you're still feeling the effects of what you went through yesterday. So it's more like a pile on, you know what I'm saying, than anything. And again, it feels more like a pile on in a game that was very, very close, that you had another opportunity to get a victory from. So yeah, it just stings a little extra knowing that you were that close to it and knowing that you lost the game the way you did yesterday.
Yeah. We've got some more super chats to get to in the comments. Soul Bro, McBaconator, you're on deck, and more of your comments. Keep them coming. Hit that thumbs up button while we take a quick ad break here, guys. Make sure you're subscribed to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel if you aren't already. The DraftKings King of the Game will go to Mr. Nikola Vucevic.
Hooray!
A strong bounce back from him after an absolute poop fest last night. 18 points on 7 of 18, including absolutely red hot from downtown. 23 boards, and your center once again dishing out several assists. I mean, love that. Today's episode brought to you, of course, by DraftKings, those wonderful people with that super fun and easy to use sportsbook. NBA fans, basketball is back, and our official sports betting partner and an official sports betting partner of the NBA is DraftKings Sportsbook. That's where you should be. Because right now, new customers can make any $5 NBA moneyline bet and get $200 in free bets if your team wins.
Free.
Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, opt in, and place a stepped-up same-game parlay today. Those are those parlays where you can boost your winnings up to 100%. With payouts bigger than ever, DraftKings Sportsbook is where I go to bet on the NBA. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code CHGO to make any $5 NBA moneyline bet this week and get $200 in free bets if your team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code CHGO.
What was it?
CHGO.
Thank you.
My hedging of happiness and gambling happiness and Bulls happiness did not work out tonight, Dave.
It did not, man.
I was confident about the Bulls either competing in this game and winning it or getting blown out.
Yes.
So I took the Sixers minus 5.5. I
did.
boosted my odds.
did.
I could have just taken the line as it was, which was, I believe, Sixers minus 3. And I was like, no, you know what? Boost. Sorry, Bulls. Sixers minus 5.5. Sixers win by 5. Bet bust. Bulls lose. Also didn't hit my Embiid over points, rebounds, assists because he had a quiet night. And poor Joey, my guy, was one Embiid point short of hitting on his bet.
Those free throws.
He missed 2 late free
Both
throws.
those
You're
free
right.
throws.
Two late free throws. He sure did.
Clanked them hard.
Bad
he did.
night for betting. But it's okay because there's always tomorrow.
It's all
Got
right,
a full
man.
slate of NFL games.
Oh, yes. Yes, you can do that, man. I'm sorry I had to ask you twice with a promo code. I've been drinking,
Somebody
First of all, I went back there to see if one of the liquid deaths that I put in the fridge was in there. I was like, you had both of them?
I had the mango you gave me, and then
But
I saw this one in the fridge.
I put 2. Oh, maybe one of the Blackhawks.
No, I just took one.
Maybe one of the Blackhawks guys.
I
you
mean,
ready to put
zero
this on?
liquid
I
death.
was about to come back in here while the show was going. You're a menace, Big Dave.
I mean, I have seen him put down like 5 of those things.
Yeah,
tonight.
seriously, it's not uncommon, sir. I can
they-
go through a gallon of water.
Do they sell this water in a can down in Australia yet, Mark?
I have no idea, but water in a can, that's an interesting concept. I don't know if we do. I don't know. I haven't seen that. Maybe
It's
they do.
called
We definitely got,
liquid death.
way too much water in it.
And it looks like a
Is that
can
actually
of
water?
what would be either malt liquor or a gross-ass energy drink, but it's just water.
Are you serious? I assumed it was beer.
Oh, no, this is water, Mark. The tagline, Mark, is murder your thirst.
Don't you got taps in there or something? Surely, can't you get water from the
Big
tap?
Dave
What do you-
Big Dave is too good for drinking out of the tap.
Yeah, I don't do tap, bro. No.
Don't get me started, Mark.
Don't get me started.
Don't get me started.
Don't get me started. I'm gonna break it down for you,
sorry.
sir. I'm gonna send you some literature. Shady Rays, damn it. I needed some sunglasses after this game. Oh man, I needed some today, man. And Shady Rays, if you need that, they got you covered. They can hook you up with some inexpensive awesomeness. They got you covered, man. Shady Rays got the premium polarized shades that world-class optical clarity, sustainable durability, and styles cater to everyone and every lifestyle. A T. The best part about Shady Rays, they have that most insane protection program I call the Matte Pet program. That means if you lose or you break your shades on day 1, foul, shades on that hat, crush, destroy. Guess what? They'll hook you up with a new pair. That's how they roll out there in Shady Rays. Strong protection program, and they still manage to make quality that is inexpensive and awesome. And you'll look absolutely great in them. I can't wait to get my pair, man.
Dude, me too.
I can't wait to get this pair of these Shady Rays, man. But for our listeners out there, exclusively for you guys, Shady Rays is running their deepest deal of the season. Use that code CHGO for 50% off 2 or more pairs at shadyrays.com. What's that called, Matt? When you buy one, get one free?
I believe they called BOGO.
Oh. And you can get 2 pairs for the Lolo, or the BOGO of 54.
The Lolo BOGO 50
Lolo
BOGO?
BOGO 54 go. Oh, bars. The bars. Liquid death.
Big Dave is hammered right now.
Hammered, man. I'm all hopped up on H2O. Redeem only at shadyrays.com, where you will find all their newest and best shades. Shady Rays, Get you a pair.
Big Dave, no hat bucket if we're going to go in Studio B. It's like we're in a racquetball court.
Agreed.
He's throwing
I can't
at
throw it very far.
It's ricocheting everywhere.
Yeah.
Like it's like a live bullet in here. Take cover.
I got it. I feel you, man. But you know how he rolls, man. The rage comes, man. You can't stop it. Just being in a small room kind of makes it worse.
I'm just a rage machine.
And he gets mad at everybody and you. Oh, baby.
Just don't take my segues and we'll be fine.
You still on this? Let it go. Let it go. Oh, man. Mark, you don't know this, but Matt is still mad at Joey for taking the segue in the pregame. And Matt is still holding on to that. He has not let that go yet.
I'll let it go at the end of
Matt
tonight.
holding on to unnecessary anger? Kidding me.
Joey had that segue the other day. What are you doing, Joey? Just coming and chiming in all the time these days.
Yeah, man.
Segue Spathis.
Again.
I did. I got way too cocky. They let me be a part of the show, and they're regretting it.
He was hashtagging himself like it was out of control, Mark. I was like, what's going on here? Like, all right.
Fair enough. Joey deserves to get on every now and then.
No, he definitely deserves it. He definitely deserves to get on. Yes, agree. No, completely agree. Completely agree.
It wasn't about
He
that.
was the one
I stole Matt's fire.
No, he was actually the one very upset when Caruso got that steal. And immediately when he started going up, he was like, why are you taking a three? Like immediately.
I thought that was a terrible shot.
Yeah. I can't disagree.
I was okay with it.
I take that back, Joey. That was a fine shot. That was a bad take by you. Never speak again on this podcast.
Never speak
That was a
again.
fine shot. That was
Never
fine.
speak again.
It was fine. There's 5 seconds left. I understand not wanting to let the defense get set. It's just not. That's
No,
not.
it's like 9 seconds left. You have time.
That's not how you want taking that shot.
Fair?
No, but at the same time, Levine and DeRozan were just sitting around the ring, and you're down 3 with a few seconds left. Yeah,
Right.
that was
It's
maybe
a scramble play.
theoretically enough time, but I don't know. He got the ball back for him. He earned that shot in my mind. So I'm like, whatever.
So I
didn't
guess
work,
it was
it didn't
because
work.
it looked like it was within the flow of things, correct, Mark?
Definitely, and like maybe if like is Caruso spraying the ball out to DeRozan for a 3 a better option really in that scenario? Like I probably only wanted in Levine's hand for a 3 at that point, but like I said, Zach was floating around the rim on that position. If you go back and watch it, so I'm fine with it. So it is what it is.
Tough one.
Shady Rays.
Shady Rays. ShadyRays.com.
All right, so going back to Soulbro42, who had a super chat earlier tonight. Soulbro said, this is the risk you run by resting players on the quote-unquote weak game of a back-to-back. You might just lose both games. Waterfall crying emoji. Yes, thank you, Soulbro, for expressing how I feel. It's a fair question to wonder about. And, we just dissected how we felt about Zach's game on the floor tonight. Mm-hmm. The other element to this back-to-back is the whole when is Zach playing and when is Zach not going to play story of this season. And how long into this season will that be the case? Mm-hmm. Will that be the case for the entirety of this season? Laro mentioned he's just getting his legs under him, didn't play any 5-on-5 this offseason. Zach also looked at times tonight like a guy who does not have his legs under him, laying it up instead of dunking on multiple occasions, maybe not having that first step burst that we're used to seeing him have. And where is Billy, the medical staff, and Zach weighing the pros and cons of sitting him when they think they can get away with sitting him, or sitting him because they feel like they must sit him and it's not a weighing pros and cons situation? Because you're right. If Zach plays last night, you're probably talking about the Bulls getting at least one of these wins instead of dropping both these games.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Like, I don't even really put the Spurs loss on Zach. I thought they should have won that game without him, personally. I mean, of course, he's out there. Yes, your chances go exponentially of winning that game. But I thought they should have won that game regardless. But tonight, I mean, it's the risk you're going to take running a back-to-back. I mean, he's going to be dealing with the knee issue. He's going to need to rest at some point in time during the season. That is kind of how you do it. This is kind of how it works. You know what I mean? Against a lesser team, he's supposed to take that break. That's kind of how it works, especially in a back-to-back. Your team is supposed to be good enough to rally around that, you know what I'm saying, and beat these teams that you're better than regardless, because we talked about it yesterday. They were the better team without Zach. They were the better team out there to win that game. So I don't put that one on Zach at all. They have to play better and win a game without him, which they already proved they could do when we saw in the first game of the season. So we've seen it happen, and we know they can do these things. But yeah, it's something that you're going to have to deal with all season long. He is going to have these kind of knee issues. I hope it's not something that's going to hinder his progression, like as a player, as the guy on this team, because like we were just talking about with Mark in the last part, like every time he has a game like this, it's not the knee that people are going to talk about. It's going to be the contract, period. They're not going to say anything about his knee. It's going to, the 200. It's going to come up every single time. So, yeah, man, that's more of par for the course, I think, him not playing a back-to-back. That's just kind of how it is with a guy who's dealing with a knee injury. I'd rather have him healthy than forcing it like we saw him do basically his whole career here in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a classic case of people looking at results and not process. And if there's one thing that shits me to tears and makes me want to become a meathead, it's this sort of thinking. Like, take a step back for a second. Like, if we're being logical about this, like, what game would you rather Zach rest in? Would it be the Spurs game or the Sixers game? Or conversely, like, which one would you rather have him on? Like the Sixers game or the Spurs game? Surely we if the Bulls are to be a decent team, or at least a team that we hope they can be, you have to go in, you have to take care of business with or without Zach against the Spurs. You can't give up 128, 129 points to the Spurs. That's why they lost. So I think from a process perspective, there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. If Zach needs to sit games because his knee's not fully there right now, then sit him against a lesser team that you should beat, irrespective of if Zach's playing. And look, Devin Vassell didn't play for the Spurs last night. Literally before the game, they waived Josh Primo for reasons which we learned earlier today were really bad reasons. Yeah. That was not even a Spurs team that was close to full health. The Bulls should have smashed their ass, but they didn't. So, I mean, from a process perspective, they're not doing anything wrong here. So long as they communicate fine with us as to, Zach needs to rest here and there, I'm fine with that. They've been, maybe apart from the Miami game, that's probably when they weren't transparent, and I was annoyed at that from a process perspective. But if I have to choose between Zach playing against the Sixers or the Spurs, I'm choosing the Sixers game every single freaking time. And had we won this game, or had we won yesterday, we wouldn't be talking about this stuff. But if we're being honest, like, the Bulls should have beaten the Spurs yesterday, like, irrespective of what happened with Levine. So it just irritates me that we're having this conversation. It's so results driven and it's silly.
It is. And, who knows how many more examples we're going to get this season of Zach resting on one game of a back-to-back.
Yeah.
And, oh dear, the Bulls don't have that back-to-back go the way that they want it to. And then the big question about that becomes, should Zach have played? Or which game should he have played in? And yeah, I mean, it's a not fun experiment to go through. Meanwhile, McBaconator has a super chat, and shout out to him. My favorite YouTube username that we have come across, McBaconator.
Bias.
Yeah, of course. Who says the Bulls kicked themselves hard, but the refs called a damn home game for the Sixers, and I'm annoyed by it. Ref standards, every game is an away game. They just don't get the calls all these other teams get. I think it is fair to say that the Bulls did not get the benefit of the doubt at home tonight. I thought that there were more egregious calls that went in favor of the Spurs in last night's game than went against the Bulls in tonight's game. There was that one really tough call that they called a foul on Patrick Williams late in the game when Harden looked like he was the one initiating the contact there. Donovan uncharacteristically had used his challenge already in the second quarter, which is wild, which he didn't win, and therefore did not have a challenge to use on that play. Hindsight, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Look, have I thought the Bulls have maybe gotten hosed on a few calls so far through 7 games? Yeah. Yes. Do I think it is by and large the biggest reason why, or even one of the top 3 biggest reasons why they have lost more games than they've won at 3 and 4? Nope. Hell no. Mm-mm. I am never going to blame the refs first, and I'm never going to blame the refs if you're telling me to list the top XYZ number of reasons why the Bulls are losing.
Unless you're Hugh Hollins.
Well, don't get me started on Hugh. I'm still mad at Hugh.
But and the other reason why, Matt, is because the Bulls are shooting a shitload of free throws. They're getting to the line. Okay? Like, that's what's happening right now. DeMar DeRozan had 12 shots. He had 10 free throws. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's getting to the line. In the first half, what they shoot, 19 free throws in the first half? Ended up shooting 29 total? Like, go look at those numbers, man. They're getting to the line, and they're getting opportunities at the line. I'm not saying the refs are making great calls. No, they're making bad calls on a couple of those things. Like, yeah, that should have been a foul. Or, no, that's not a charge, and things like that. But, yeah, I'm not going to sit there and blame them for those reasons. No, there are plenty of reasons that the Bulls control their own destiny in a lot of those situations. And they just could not come through. Like, the Sixers were getting stuff on them that I thought weren't fouls, but it didn't stop Embiid from hitting a game-winning three. You know what I mean? Like, you still control yourself at the end of the day, man. Like, that's really what it is. I can't complain to the refs.
100%. I mean, the Bulls had more free throw attempts. They made more free throws than the Sixers. Sure, there was some bad calls. Did the Sixers get a better call than the Bulls? Yeah, okay, I can agree to that. But exactly what you guys are saying, like, control what you can control. Did the Bulls do that? No, they didn't. I mean, I don't want to repeat myself and bang on about the start again, but, like, when you're going to give up 5 of 9 3-pointers in the first quarter, that's significantly more of an issue as to why you lose this game than, your refs giving a bad call here and there. It didn't determine the game. The Bulls determined the outcome of this game. When you get down 19 against a team like this, the chances of you actually winning this game are lowered. Yeah, they could have, irrespective of that, they still could have won this game, but they didn't. And it's far more on the Bulls than the refs. Is it a contributing factor, McBacon? Yeah, it is. But to Matt's point, I don't even think it's top freaking 20 of the issues that the Bulls had tonight. So, I appreciate the super chat, though.
Always appreciate the super chat. All right, we have the GOAT waiting in the wings. So, Mark, any parting thoughts on tonight's loss before we let you go? And I know that you and Will are going to have a fresh Bulls HQ for the Bulls fans in our feeds on Monday.
Yeah, well, look, it wouldn't be a podcast or me appearing on CHGO without referencing Patrick Williams. And I want to say, Pat was good tonight. Pat was good tonight. This was probably Pat's best game of the season. I'm sure you guys will talk more about it with Will, but irrespective of the stat line, it doesn't read that well. 2 of 5 shooting, doesn't look that great. Right. No assists, only 3 rebounds, 9 points. Okay, you look at the stat line, it doesn't look great. But Pat played 32 minutes tonight, and he played 32 minutes because he deserved to play 32 minutes. He was really good on defense, I thought. He was doing stuff, being active. He was active on ball on the offense as well. Like, there was plenty of opportunities where he could have just sat in that corner, weak side, like he has been doing for basically his whole career to this point. But he was actually getting engaged and more active and looked a bit more like the Pat that we saw in that last preseason game against the Bucks, where he was getting involved in the pick and roll as a roll man. There was a number of possessions tonight when that was the case. So, yeah, I actually thought Pat played a really good game, and this is exactly like the minimum expectation I had of Pat this season. So if he can replicate this game across the rest of the season, I won't be complaining about Patrick Williams any more of this season. I thought he was good tonight. So I thought I'd leave you guys with that parting note, some Pat optimism from me.
Can we get that in writing, Mark?
Hey, mate, just check my Twitter feed.
I love it. No, there were some very pro-Pat tweets in your feed tonight. I appreciated it. I mean, you call it like you see it. He's been playing better, and you're going to give him some credit from playing better.
Yeah.
Everybody follow Mark on Twitter for all of his great Bulls analysis and Bulls takes at MK Hoops. And as I said, make sure you check out that CHGO Bulls podcast feed on Monday for a fresh episode of Bulls HQ with Mark and Will. And I believe a special guest that they're bringing in.
Ooh,
so, Mark, thanks for stopping into postgame, buddy. Pleasure as always.
All right, guys, take it easy.
Peace.
Later, bud. Oh, Mark K. What a delight. We got a goat in the wings, I believe.
Goat in the wings.
Yeah, real quick, while you bring him in, Dave, give a shout out to our friends at Game Time.
I will give a shout out to our friends at Game Time. Shout out to Game Time. Is that how shout outs work?
Sure.
Okay, we'll take it like that then, because it's the hottest new ticketing site that makes it easier than ever to score the best deals on tickets to sports, concerts, and shows. Because you want to sit at that 50-yard line, you want to sit courtside, you want to sit behind home plate, you want to sit in the floor seats of that concert, and you can do all that if you use the Game Time app. The biggest last-minute price drops can be found on the seats you thought you could never buy, because you won't find better deals this season, y'all, to Chicago Bulls games. You only find them at Game Time. And it's created by the fans and it's for the fans, and it guarantees the lowest price. So if you love CHGO, like I know you do, then you'll love Game Time. The best way to support us is buying your tickets through that link in the description after you hit that thumbs up. Go ahead, hit that first, then get those tickets through the link in the description and join the 15 million people who have downloaded the Game Time app and score the best seats to all your favorite events. Because, Matt, what time is it?
Game time. Who? As we are bringing in Will to go Gottlieb, a great super chat to jump off the first thing that I wanted to ask Will about. And of course, it comes from our guy Salim of Bulls Gold, who said, while the players deserve blame for the bad starts, this is a consistent issue. What is Billy doing as well? I think it is a collective issue. Will the GOAT, welcome into postgame. Follow Will on Twitter at Will_Gottlieb, everybody. What do you think of this question from our pal Salim, Will? Because I know that I've seen some tweets coming through my feed already tonight from Billy's postgame thoughts. He was talking about this after the game. I saw Vooch talking about it after the game. The slow starts. What is up with these slow starts?
I just want to take a moment before I get started here to thank Joey in person for finally
I knew
following
this
me
is
on
where
Twitter.
it was going. I knew it. I something happened. I have not been following Will on Twitter, even though okay, so I'm convinced that Twitter is playing some sort of joke on me or Will is gaslighting me because I go to your Twitter page 10 times a day and it keeps coming back up with the follow back. Like keeps coming up like Big Dave and Matt Peck follow Will Gottlieb, but I'm like, I follow him too.
Okay.
But
So you don't.
I guess I don't.
He does now. He rectified
Making me
the
the
issue.
worst guy in the world and the biggest dick on this platform.
You have hurt the feelings of the GOAT. How dare you?
It's only been nearly 8 months, Joey.
Unfortunately, now the bad part begins for you, where you actually have to see my tweets. That's really it's all downhill from here.
Oh, come on. Don't you want to see videos of Drummond raining threes in practice?
I know I did.
That's one of a million reasons why you should follow the GOAT on Twitter.
This is true.
That was a fun one. But anyway, back to the game.
The
Yeah,
starts.
I mean, they just keep on getting off to these horrible starts, and a lot of it has to do with just incredible shooting from the opponents. I think you can put some blame on defensive rotations. You can put some blame on, just bad luck, right? Like some of these shots are just well contested, but they're just going in. It was another 6 for 10 quarter for the 76ers on threes, and then 10 for 20 in the first half. So, it's just going to be very difficult to be competitive in basketball games when your opponents are shooting like that. And I mean, it's a tough thing to blame the coach in those situations where it seems like you are contesting shots some of the time. A lot of times there are breakdowns, and I'm going to be writing about that for tomorrow. But it's just these teams are shooting over 50% on threes. Like it's not going to sustain. It's crazy that it's sustained this long. But it's hard for me to put blame on Billy Donovan for something that just is it's such an outlier.
We spent a lot of time talking about Zach LaVine in the game that he kind of had tonight. I think we were all three of us were kind of in the feeling that it wasn't a bad game. It was more of an off game for Zach with some bad shots in there down the stretch. What were your feelings on Zach's game this evening?
Yeah, I don't think he played particularly well. Another game with a couple of bad turnovers. I think the one shot that people are going to be critical of is the one where he pulled up, and I think it was to either tie or take the lead there late in the game. That pull-up left elbow jumper. I was fine with that. Basically what happened was the Bulls ran a DeMar-Zach pick and roll. Zach slipped out, and that's just like a lethal combination because you just have to decide, are you going to give Zach LaVine a wide open three, or are you going to let DeMar cook on a mismatch? And they trapped DeMar. Zach got there. The pass I thought was a little behind him, and he was too far to just take like a normal spot up three, which I think would have been the best possible shot. Some of the media people were asking about, could he have found Vooch in the corner? I personally missed that. I need to go back and watch it, but I was fine with that shot. It was tough. It was a little awkward, but he did start to heat up in the second half. I think the first half, his numbers were really poor. Just did not look like himself at all, really pressing. But he started to make some shots in the second half. So I think he needs to work his way out of it. So I'm not like upset with him at all for that shot. And also if there's one thing that guy does really well, it's score the ball. And so like you trust him to be able to do that when it matters. Like he didn't necessarily need to be the one that makes the plays. That's why you have DeMar out there. You just need him to put the ball in the hoop. And I thought it was a fine shot, just happened to not go in.
We got another super chat here from Alexander, who said, hey, at least one positive. P. Will is looking more and more aggressive. We just touched on it before Mark bowed out. Will, your thoughts on what we saw from Pat tonight? I see Big Dave, what appears to be wiggling 4 alive toes.
Got it, baby.
Is that 4 alive toes
wiggling
now?
that toe, baby. Wiggling the big toes.
Pat,
one more to go.
Okay, you know what speaks to me as the biggest number, not biggest, but most impactful number in his box score? 32 minutes tonight.
Colossal.
Including being on the floor at the end of that game.
Colossal stuff for him.
Yeah, again, a game where the box score just doesn't really stand out. But if you've been watching all these games, you know that this was clearly his best performance. And we've seen now, I think, 2 or 3 where it's gotten better and better each time. So pulse watch, I'm feeling it. Patrick is on his way towards having a pulse. I think today was the best one yet. Had some really nice rebounds. He had a couple of drives. I think he got a charge call on Harrell once or twice. But I like to see him putting his head down. He got a rebound and went all the way down the court, pushing a fast break. I think he drew a foul on that one, got to the free throw line for 4 attempts. And then he's like out there having to defend Harden a lot of the time. So I thought he played pretty well. Obviously, you want him to be better. You want him to just take steps all the time. But I think the pressure has subsided a little bit. And so you're starting to see some of the good parts of his game come back out. And when you have guys like Javonte and Derek Jones that can come in and play 10, 15 minutes, 18 minutes a game, that just takes so much pressure off of him. So I think we're trending the right direction. Obviously not, blowing the top off with scoring or anything like that. But like Mark said, I mean, if he can come in and contribute like this as a role player and defend and, hit a 3 and be confident shooting the ball, then I'm going to be very happy with Patrick moving forward.
Well, Will, I have to ask you this, sir, but how did you feel when you saw the small ball lineups roll out there for the Chicago Bulls, sir?
I loved it for many reasons. We haven't been able to see much of it because Drummond has just been so good. And so obviously he missed the game tonight. And, it made sense, I thought, to try given, the 76ers, Joel Embiid was in foul trouble. And so Harrell had to play some extra minutes. And I feel like he's a big that you can sort of take advantage of with some of those smaller groups. So there were some weird lineups with like Pat and Derek out there and maybe like Javonte or another forward in there as well. So kind of funky, but like the way that both Patrick and Derek Jones operate as screeners and rollers, I think that you have something there. And I want to see more of these minutes. Maybe it's just in spurts where like you can't really get away with them being out there for extended minutes. Maybe it's not like a Warriors death lineup where Draymond's in there and you can play 10 straight minutes, but I think they've got something. And if they can build some chemistry with that group and the opportunity is right, I want to see more of it.
Do you have any ideas? Like if you were Billy, and like I see Mark K in the comments saying like unless someone has solution ideas for these slow starts, then I don't want to hear anybody coming at Billy for being the reason for these slow starts. I'm just curious, Will, if you were in Billy's shoes, is there something you do differently, say differently, roll out there differently to try to put an end to these slow starts that have the Bulls fighting like hell to climb back from, again tonight, a 19-point deficit?
I mean, not that I can think of, to be honest. I can spend some more time just like putting thought to that. I do think there's something to be said for just that starting unit not playing at a super high level. I think last I checked, their net rating was pretty bad, like pretty far negative, not even like around 0 or anything. Like it was like -7, which is really not good. And that's your starting group. That's supposed to be the one that is out there putting up points, and the bench is supposed to be like holding that lead or extending it if they can. So I don't think the starters have played well enough together. I think part of that is because they're not getting stops. When you have Zach and DeMar out there together, it's difficult to execute rotations. Like you've just got 2 guys that aren't going to do it at a very high level. And when you're allowing opponents to take and make a bunch of threes, then you're taking the ball out from under the basket, and then you can't get out in transition. And it's just this sort of cascade that I think when you bring in that second unit and you can run a little bit more, it sort of snaps out of that funk, and they're able to put some points on the board, and that sort of resets the balance. But yeah, I mean, just as far as that one group, like they're gonna be the ones that play together. Maybe maybe Javonte in there instead of Patrick helps juice the fast break game. Bulls just did not get any fast break points tonight. Yes. I think Kobe maybe had 2 or 4, and that was it. Yes. I don't see them.
The Kobe layup late in the game, the one that he almost fumbled, I saw on my Twitter feed their first fast break points of the game, and it was like midway through the fourth.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, just not good enough for a team that's what they want their identity to be. Right. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about it, but I could see, on games where Zach is out with the injury management, I could see them going with Ayo and Dragic back there in the backcourt to start games, and maybe just Dragic, quit messing around and bringing him off the bench. Like, let's get this guy in here and play with him as much as possible, because when he comes in, good things happen, and that reflects in those lineup numbers and his plus minus and all that stuff. So I think a lot of it just has to do with pace and getting into just a funk too early on in the game, and just it's this cycle where they make a shot, you take it out, you can't run, you have to create something better off the bounce, and that's just not what the Bulls want to do with DeMar every single possession of every single game.
Well, one thing that concerned me was in that fourth quarter, I saw the same issues the Bulls were kind of dealing with last year. Was when teams trap DeMar, they don't know what to do. What do you liken that to? Like, I thought we had figured that part out. Like, I thought we were done with that. You get it to Vooch, and then Vooch, finds the open man. But it seemed like, maybe they were just trapping him harder and sending the right people at him because he was overthrowing Vooch, or guys weren't rotating correctly after the pass was given. What did you see out there since you were there live?
Yeah, for one, I mean, there's a reason that this team brought in PJ Tucker and DeAnthony Melton, and those guys are just so good at executing rotations. Same with Matisse Thybulle. Like, they just are magnets for the ball. You have to throw excellent passes so that they don't get intercepted. And I think that's part of the reason why the 76ers team has such potential, because their defense is now at another level that it just has been not good enough in previous seasons. So I think that's part of it. We saw a couple of plays where Javonte or Derek Jones or Alex Caruso even were sort of the roll man, the outlet pass in those trapping situations. And Vooch hit a corner 3 out of one of those from Caruso, which I thought was an interesting look. That actually pulls Embiid away from the screening action, because Vooch is in the corner. He's not up setting the screen for DeMar. And then also, he can't really leave Vooch in the corner because he's hitting threes, and that opens up the rim a little bit more. So I like that. But then that last play, I mean, we didn't see much of it, but Zach setting screens and slipping out of screens for DeMar to close out games. I understand they want to sort of keep that in their back pocket and not let teams really hone in on it. But I mean, that's as deadly as you're going to get offensively, where you either leave Zach open for 3 or you let DeMar get to his spots and hit elbow jumpers all day long, all night long. So I think moving Zach into that role a little bit more, I do think Vooch is really good at making those plays, but he's also one of the more reliable shooters on this team, believe it or not. And so having him in the corner as an outlet there, I think makes sense. I think it's also it's a feel thing. Like, it's going to take some time to get back in the full swing. The 76ers, I think, trapped pretty hard, more than some of these other teams, but it's going to keep coming, because the Bulls have one guy that is going to get a bucket in these situations. And so defenses want to take that away. And until the Bulls can prove that they've solved it, they're going to just keep going back to it.
Will, before we let you go, and one more reminder, make sure that you're reading everything that Will's writing for us at allchgo.com, including his thoughts on tonight's game. We just teased it with Mark, but we'll tease it again with you. You guys have a fresh episode of Bulls HQ that's going to be dropping in our CHGO Bulls feeds on Monday, correct?
Monday morning.
And you're talking with KLA Hoops.
We're talking with Chris. He just started a new site called Swish Theory, so we wanted to give him a chance to sort of plug that. And then also, he and Mark were just really getting into it over Pat on Twitter, and so I was like, oh man, We got to get Chris on here to just have a little back and forth.
The Thunderdome.
That is just going to be something. But a lot has happened since then. I think, like Mark said, Pat's been playing better.
Yeah.
It's an interesting situation at power forward. So we're going to have a lot to talk about.
So we are two of many people who have been showering you with praises for your perfectly coiffed hair. It looks great in the bubble. It looks great when you're here with us in the studio. But I'm sure you took notice of the fact that Dave and I's old colleague and an absolute legend in Chicago sports media.
And my friend.
And our friend.
Yeah.
Mark Shanowski was filling in for Adam Amin on the call on the broadcast tonight with Stacey King. And I just looked at this picture that he posted with our guy Stacey and said, my God, that is still the most perfect, immaculate vibes head of hair in the game. I'm sorry, Will, but Shanowski's head of hair will never be topped.
Ron Burgundy would be proud.
No offense taken. That is the goal. But I talked to Mark a little bit before the game. I talked to Mark a little bit before the game. He said he wants to come back on the show sometime. So
tell him his adopted delinquent children miss him. Will, thanks for popping into postgame and offering us your insights. We appreciate it always, man. I guess we will see you. Are they at home against Brooklyn on Tuesday, or are they in Brooklyn?
No, they're in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
They're in Brooklyn,
Also,
so we will see you back in the studio Tuesday.
I'll see you then. But just speaking of Brooklyn real quick, I just want to shout out Nick Friedel, who is my friend, our friend, everybody's friend, for just go find the clip for really staying after Kyrie on this whole saga of just Kyrie being Kyrie. Very, very impressive journalism, and shout out to him. Yeah.
Shout out to Friedel. You were very political and kind in the way you phrased that. Kyrie, you're a fucking idiot. Shut up. Good to see you as always, Will. Talk to you soon.
See you guys.
My man.
Oh, man. I can't. Yeah, my phone's been blowing up with people being like, have you seen this clip? Have you seen this clip? Apparently, Friedel and Kyrie went at each other in the postgame after the Nets game tonight.
All right.
So that's burning a hole in my phone right now.
All right.
We are out of here for now. Really tough back-to-back. Really crappy weekend, Dave. 2 L's that could have been W's, maybe should have been W's.
Ran through.
And he is out of his liquid water.
I'm out. Bring me more.
Oh, goodness gracious. If you want to check in and do a wellness update on Dave, a wellness check tomorrow, you can follow him on Twitter at BAWL Sports. Joey is at Joey Spathis. I am at Bulls_Peck. One more time. Mark is MK Hoops. Will is Will_Gottlieb. We are CHGO_Bulls. Dave and I are off until Tuesday when we'll be back for pregame Bulls Nets, which looks like a very winnable game against the 1-5 Brooklyn Nets.
Coming out 19 of 19 for the 3-point line in the first quarter.
And real quick, before we get out of here, one more super chat that I almost forgot. Shazane Saeed in the comments, I see you. No, we will not settle for mediocrity. Rough weekend, but we bounce back. As you said, we need to give credit for their effort in coming back. Give them the flowers for that. Come on.
They get all that credit for sure, man. Still sucks.
Still doesn't mean I'm not pissed.
Yeah, still sucks, man. But hey, I'll be back.
I'll be back
that Tuesday. Drummond every day was going to get healthier with that shoulder.
Right.
We'll be back going soon. And another week means we're in week 5 of Lonzo Watch.
I'm not getting my hopes up on that yet.
I just said you're in week 5.
Yep.
I didn't say he's going to be out there week 6. I just said in week 5. That's
okay.
all.
All righty. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Time, tune into CHGO Sports YouTube for CHGO Bears pregame. Bears and the Cowboys of Dallas.
I've heard of them.
Going at it. They're America's team, supposedly.
Really? That's a thing?
Nah.
Oh. Joey, you Cowboys?
Am I a Cowboys fan? Mm-hmm. No, I'm Bears fan.
Okay.
That's the right answer. I don't know if he's telling us the truth, but that's the right answer.
Why do you assume I'm a Cowboys fan?
Hey, you're a Texas person.
Yeah,
I went to school in Texas. I like every other Chicago team.
Okay.
I don't like any Texas professional teams.
Good.
No professional, just the college.
Just the University of Texas Longhorns.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. Hook 'em.
Until Tuesday, enjoy the rest of your weekend, Halloween weekend. Happy Halloween. Check out that Bulls HQ pod in your CHGO Bulls feeds on Monday with our guys Will and Mark and their guest Chris Amundsen. Until Tuesday, for Joey, Big Dave, Mark, Will, I am Peck. Appreciate you for tuning in. As always, Bulls Nation, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. Love ya. See you, Robbie. Good.